Alright, here we go. Intervention video time. And this one is down for pie charts. So this was one that a lot of people had requested, so it's one that we're going to take a look at. Now, it says everything you could want to know and do with pie charts, but the truth is that it's quite hard to cover everything like that in one video. And that's generally because you could mix in pie charts with any other types of data. So, for example, a couple of years ago, we saw a question that mixed a histogram and a pie chart, so that you had to get the frequencies off of the histogram and use that to check against the proportion of another pie chart. So I'll say this openly, you can't expect everything that you could possibly want to do with a pie chart in one video. However, what I am going to do is show you a one-stop strategy which is extremely useful for working with pie charts in general. Okay, so we're going to see that. And the way that we're going to see this first is by pretending that we are going to draw a pie chart. Okay, so we've got some data on the left-hand side in a table. We might have a pie chart ready with our protractor ready to go, and we want to know how big each section in the pie chart is. Okay, now the first thing that we need to know is how many degrees should we have for one person. Okay, that is an absolutely crucial question. How many degrees for one person? Now, if we can answer that question, we can do anything else with our pie chart that we want. Okay? Now, for a full circle, we should see that we have 360 degrees. Okay? Now, we need to know how many people there should be for this circle. And that comes down to the total of our frequency, which is 30 for our example here. If I'm using a quick little proportion table here, I'm wanting to think, how do I get from 30 down to 1? Okay, well, I divide by 30. That's straightforward enough. So I'm going to have to make sure that I do that on the other side as well. 360 divided by 30 is 12. Okay, so this means that one person or one thing is 12 degrees. And if we know that, then we can do anything that we need to from this pie chart. Okay? I could say, well, if I've got 16 people, 16 times by 12 would be 192, and that tells me that my first section needs to have 192 degrees in it. I could do that for each of them. I could say, if I've got 8 people, okay, with blue eyes, then 8 times 12 would tell me how many degrees for the blue eyes. If I've got 4 people for my others, I could do 4 times 12 to get me how many degrees for my others. Okay? And that's how I can tell how many degrees should be in each sector. Okay? See how knowing what one person is makes this thing a heck of a lot easier. Okay? And they should add up to make 360. They should. Okay? Bit hard to show you on the computer, but if you're drawing this pie chart out, we'd then just measure each section, okay? And I would rotate my protractor around so that my 0 starts on the line that I most recently drew. Okay? It's a bit hard for me to show you this on the intervention videos, but if you are struggling with that bit, do let me know, and I can perhaps do something else to help you out with that, or provide you a different video. Okay? So finding out how many degrees for one person, super, super important. Okay? And if you want to, I've put up a second example here for you to try out for yourself. Okay, I've hidden a few more things and just changed the numbers a little bit, but it's exactly the same kind of thing. Okay, so if you want to, you can pause it here. You can try this out. But this, I wouldn't say this is the most common thing on Hire, drawing pie charts. So, it's good for practice and it's good to be there. But we're going to take a look at something afterwards. So if you want, you can pause it here, pause it now. Okay, and I'm now going to start going through things. So if you didn't manage to pause it, you got to pause it now. First thing that we need to know is our total number of people or things in our pie chart. In this case, it's 90. Okay, so the 90 is our total frequency, which matches up with the total degrees for the circle, 360. To find out what one item or person is worth, I would have to divide by that 90, so do the same on the other side. And 360 divided by 90 is 4. So that means that one person, one thing, is worth 4 degrees. So I'm going to take 34 and times it by 4 to get my first section. And do the same with each of the other sections to get how many degrees they are worth. And if we've done it right, each of these numbers should add up to make 360 in total. Okay? And if you're drawing the pie chart out, your sections should look something like this, okay? So we have our bus, we have our car, we have our walkers, and our others. Okay? You can write the degrees in there if you wish. It's not always necessary, especially if you've got them in a table like we've got here. Okay, but as we said, this isn't the most common thing that we can do with pie charts on Hire. Normally, it's down to us to analyze, interpret, or comment upon pie charts that have already been drawn. So we're going to take a look at that now. Okay. So this pie chart here shows sales of each quarter in a year. So we've got our first, second, third, and fourth quarters color-coded on our diagram. And we've been told how many degrees each thing is worth as well. What we want to know is how much is earned in each quarter. And this could be to prove or disprove a statement that someone has made. It could be in order to comment upon a separate pie chart, and then determine who sold more in a particular time. We don't know. All we know is that we need to find out how much is earned in each quarter. Now, you can see that my table here is slightly longer, and that's because I'm going to do everything that I need to in this one table. Okay, and you can see that I've set up my 360 degrees. I've got 1 degree, just in case I need to know how many people were for 1 degree. And then I've got a range of different other things as well for each of the different angles that we have. So, we have that the total amount earned was 120,000. We have that the 120,000 matches up with the 360 degrees. Now, I could find out how many degrees there are for £1 in this, but because I have the degrees in the pie chart, it makes more sense for me to think instead of how much frequency there would be for 1 degree. Okay, looking over here. Well, in this case, to get from 360 to 1, I would have to divide by 360. So to get from 120,000 to how many pounds there are for 1 degree, I would also need to divide by 360. And we get 333.33. Fantastic. Okay. This on my calculator is actually 333.3 recurring. Okay. And I'm going to use the recurring answer, or the answer as it is as a fraction, just to make my answers that little bit more accurate. Okay, so the answers that I have under these things here, these are my fully correct answers, not rounded. Okay. Now, I can go from 1 degree up to 150 very easily. I can times by 150. So I would have to do the same on the other side as well. I would also times by 150. Because what I do to one side of my proportion table, I do to the other side. 50,000. So my Q4, quarter 4, that is 50,000 pounds. Okay. There we go. Nice and easy, nice and straightforward. I could use my 1 degree for all of them. So I could go 1 times by 120 to get my 120 degrees. So do the same on the other side and times by 120. Okay. And there we go. I'd have £40,000. But you could use the 360. You could have done 360 divided by 3 to get 120. Okay? Because pie charts are always in proportion. Okay? Pie charts are always in proportion. Okay? So I could go from 360 to 120. Okay? Or I could go from 120 to 60 by dividing by 2. Okay? And I can use these little shortcuts just to help me out along the way and do things perhaps a little bit quicker. Okay? So then we can find out exactly how many pounds are in each section. Okay, so for my 30-degree section, that's £10,000. Well, that's not what that says at all. Okay, and my 60 degrees would be £20,000. And my 120 degrees would be £40,000. Okay, so we can see exactly how many degrees and how much money would be in each section by using our proportion table, just like we did when we were drawing a pie chart. Okay? Okay, so you could, if you wanted to, pause the video here and try out this question, which does something very similar, but does in reverse to drawing a pie chart. Okay, it's like you're starting off with the pie chart that we can't see and are wanting to find out how much each section is worth. Okay, now these numbers work out quite easily because they are very nice numbers. Okay, you could pause the video here if you wanted to, but I think that the next one is perhaps worth more of your time. Okay, and hopefully you've paused it at this point because I'm going to start going through things. Okay, the 30, which is our total frequency, matches up with 360. Now, I can do some of these numbers without needing to know what 1 degree is worth, because from 360 to 180, I can just divide by 2 to get 15. 180 to 90, I can, again, divide by 2. So for my 90-degree section, that's just going to be 7.5, which doesn't make sense in terms of the thing that we've got here, but it's what the numbers would say. Okay, probably tell that I made this example up rather quickly. We could go to 30 degrees next, because that one, to get from 90 to 30, I would divide by 3. So 7.5 divided by 3 would be 2.5. And if I wanted to get 60, I could double 30. to get me 5. And there we go. We've got each of our sections, even if they don't quite make sense for the numbers that we have here. Okay? So that would be that. But the next thing, the final thing that we're going to look at is probably the thing which most often confuses people. Okay? Which is this thing. So we've got 2 separate classes here that were asked to identify their favorite music genres. Okay? And on the left, we've got that pie chart. On the right, we've got a different pie chart. Okay? And we might be asked a question like, compare the pie charts, or or someone says that, class number 1, more people like rap and hip hop than in class number 2. Are they correct? Okay. And it kind of looks like they should be correct, because the section is bigger in class number 1, or class A, and we can have class B. Okay. It looks like this blue section is much bigger. So you would kind of think, yeah, of course it's going to be more. But what you don't actually know, what we've not actually been told, is how many people are in each class. Okay? For all I know, there could be 5 people in class A, in which case this might be like 2 people. Question mark. And there could be 30 people in class B, in which case this would be what? 6 people? Roughly? Okay. So we can see that the size of the sector means nothing if we're comparing it to 2 different pie charts, okay? Pie charts only stay in proportion for one chart, okay? And I would say never compare pie charts without frequencies, okay? Because the pie charts look as though they're telling you something, but actually they're not, okay? They're just telling you, are things in proportion for the one class at a time, okay? So again, in class B, it looks like the grey section is much bigger than in class A. But what we don't know is how many people that is worth, okay? That grey section in class B could only be worth 4 people. Whereas in class A, it could be worth 40 people, because the numbers are different, okay? They don't compare across pie charts, okay? You can only compare in a single pie chart, okay? So, that is pretty much everything that I can think of in terms of pie charts that you might need to know without starting to look at every other single type of data as well. Okay, or, type of representing data. Okay. What do we take away from this? Proportion tables are super, super useful. Okay. Whether you're drawing a pie chart or analyzing a pie chart. Okay. Those proportion tables are super, super useful. And use them. Okay. Ask yourself the question, how many degrees do I need for one person? Or how much frequency do I need for 1 degree? Okay, and that will generally get you on your way. Even when you're comparing pie charts like this, ask yourself that question. How many people are in each section? Only then can you compare them. Okay? And that's a 20-minute video, which I think is long enough on pie charts. And there's an attached worksheet for you to try out and some answers so that you can check how things are going. If you do follow this intervention thing, drop some work in your student folder so I can see what you've been doing, and that way I can know, just exactly what you're doing, how you're getting on, and all that kind of stuff as well. Okay, that's enough from me. I'll see you in our next lesson.